I think that'll work very well. They're both skilled. Uh, they both have that ability to be on the ball, obviously, and they both have proven that they can play off the ball. Uh, Norm has done that for a lot of his career. Played off the ball, played off of high usage guys, and he's extremely efficient with his catch and shoot ability and his cutting and his driving ability, getting downhill. But as he proved, the last 3 years, he also can be a go-to guy where you put the ball in his hands and he's going to make some things happen for your team. I think they'll really enjoy, playing off each other because of their skill set. They're both, unselfish in terms of understanding the big picture and wanting other guys to be aggressive. We need it. We need more, uh, guys that can make plays, make it a little bit more complex for a defense to prepare for us.
When you look at the East, obviously Boston's going to have a very different dynamic. Indiana is going to look very different.
Yeah. I
There's
think I know
a
what you're
sense that
getting at.
everything's kind of wide open.
Yeah.
You look at it that way?
I don't, and I think that's cool, for the fan base, to look at it that way. We're not afraid of the competition, and you can't be afraid of the competition. You can't think that, just because, there's been some changes in rosters or some injuries that, now we have a chance. That's kind of a loser's mentality. We want to compete at the highest level regardless of who's out there. We know we have to improve. We knew we had to do some things this offseason. We know that we have to have a really good training camp, which I think we will. Guys are going to come in prepared. We'll have a productive August and September. I've talked to everybody. Everybody's motivated. We've had plenty of time off. Everybody wants to just gear up and get ready. And you can feel the energy. You can feel the excitement building. It doesn't have to be all there right now, but look, it's happening organically. I feel it myself. The staff feels it. The players feel it. It's not that we wish training camp could be tomorrow, but I think it'll be a nice, healthy ramp up, to get to there. And there's still going to be great competition, and that's what it's about. You gotta embrace it, and we're looking forward to it.
When you unpacked the season and just did your autopsy, if you will,
Yeah.
of everything,
Yeah.
what'd you take away from?
No, there's a few takeaways. I don't need to get into the whole deal right there. I think we really started to put it together. There were a lot of things obviously happened, and we pride ourselves in hitting stride and getting better as the season goes on at the right times. It happened very late for us. It happened in about the last 10 games. And then that led to 2 really competitive play-in games. Big picture, that's not where we want to be, but it felt like we were building something in those 10 games, and those 2 games were exhilarating. The locker room was alive after that Atlanta game, and then it was a buzzkill after that. But there's different levels to this. We understand that. Those close games are something that we've really analyzed. That can change the trajectory of your season if you handle those moments of truth better, and you have a few more wins out of those groupings of games that were very winnable, fourth quarter leads, that kind of stuff. Whole league's trying to figure that out, but that's given us something to really dive into. And then offensively, building a system where it can be dynamic and a little bit tougher to just prepare for if you're on the other side.
What do you want Kalel to take from this summer league experience, and how would you kind of evaluate what he's done this offseason so far?
There's layers to this with Kalel. A big part of this is he has to really embrace and improve his professionalism, his consistency, his approach every single day. He has to get better with that. It's learning how to become a pro. I understand it. He was 20 last year, and he's 21. We have bigger expectations. It's not your normal growth and growing pains of a young player learning how to become a pro. But that's what this summer is about. Learning how to become a pro, learning how to be consistent every single day. The talent is there. The professionalism and consistency has to improve, and it is. Our standards are not going to change, and our expectations of how fast we want that to improve for him are not going to change. But he's got to get better at it. He has to take ownership of it. And the other stuff will come along with that. That leads into the weight room. Your professionalism, your consistency, your approach every single day. He's getting stronger. He is gaining weight. That's a big part of his improvement, is getting his body physically prepared and ready to handle the rigors of a physical position. Then there's the nuances of doing things defensively and playing stronger with more force offensively. We're working on those things every single day. Malik, I think is the best big man coach and mentor in the league, and they're spending a lot of time hitting, pounding, lower, stronger, more physical. You saw a piece of it right here at the end. That's what we feel like we do. We feel like, also giving them the structure to grow and embrace becoming a pro, learning how to be a professional, every single day, being early, having a great energy and countenance every day. How you do anything is how you do everything. He's taking some steps, but he's got to get better. He has to get better with the professionalism.
Nico, obviously the injury last year kind of derailed what he was doing, but then it looked like he was starting to find a comfort zone a little bit when he came back. What do you want to see from him, and how important is it to kind of find a specific role for him this year?
That'll happen. It was already happening before he got hurt. He's a unique skill set. So, part of his strength is making other players better. Some of it is in these plays in between that are unscripted. That's oftentimes where he's at his best. He also can get lost, like any player, if you're playing strictly in those areas where you can get lost in the sauce. So he can play on the ball, but we have a lot of guys that can play on the ball. So there's going to be a balance, right there. His growth also will continue to be the professionalism, the consistency of approach, his work ethic, which if you compare that to where it is right now, and that's why I'm encouraged about Kalel, is you look at where Nico was as a rookie to where he's becoming right now. It's night and day. The work ethic and his consistency of approach every single day. I think the last 2 summers have been really good because it's been a strong balance of the Miami Heat player development program and then going to play for his national team. I think that's helped his maturity because it means a whole lot to that team and every player and every coaching staff. You can't just go in there like casual. So I think that's been as important as the stuff we've been doing. And I think this summer, they have big expectations. And, the first year he was a token starter on the World Championships, and then any moments of truth he wasn't playing. Coaches will play who they think can help you win. Last year he was probably the 8th or 9th, 10th man. Biggest stage. So my challenge to him was break in the rotation. Make that Hall of Fame coach earn your trust. And it's all the consistency, it's the winning things, it's your approach. It's no different than here. I love the fact that he's playing for that coach who's very demanding. But Nico had a really good June and late May. He's put on some strength too. He's just going to come back looking different. Every year he comes back stronger, bigger. I'm excited about his improvement.
I may see Kevin's role, as obviously he was more of a locker room completer when he was around this past season. Now that he's not there, you've had UD in that role for a number of years before Kevin. Now Kevin's gone. Who takes that?
I mean, the first part of it, it's always tough, when you're making transitions. It's tough, to make those calls. It was tough, to make that call with Duncan. Duncan and I had a beautiful conversation because it was really more about the two of us being grateful for the relationship and all the memories of something that was so improbable. I was there from the very beginning, and thinking, wow, is this guy going to make it? It doesn't fit the prototype, but his superpower was his fortitude and grit that I respect so much that I think, I tell him all the time that it's really a book, to talk about how many things you had to overcome, how many no's that you didn't accept as a no, and just keep on staying with it all the time. That was the tough conversation that turned into a beautiful one. It was really, kind of emotional for both of us. But I'm happy for him. With Kevin, that's tough. There is a business part of it. The reality is the last couple of years, this group has been transitioning. The leadership has really been moving on more to Bam. And it really has to be other guys too. Tyler, stepping up. It can't just be one guy. That way of being a captain before is still important, but you need a group that is embracing leadership at all levels. In today's NBA, I feel. And I think we have some potential, with this group, for more guys to step in. Like Tyler, like Norm. Norm's a vet. He's played in a lot of really important playoff games. Wiggs, I think as he gets comfortable. With Wiggs, so much of this with him is about being comfortable. He finally got comfortable in a month. It didn't take long. He got comfortable, and he was, he was dynamic, with there. But I think we'll have leadership that will establish throughout the roster starting in training camp.
With Jaime, he talked about how he wants to bounce back after last year. What kind of conversations have you guys had?
Yeah.
What are you looking for going into training
That's
camp?
some really good conversations. I told him I don't necessarily like the dialogue of you just have to get back to who you were your first half of the rookie year. Everything has kind of changed, right? And I'm not talking about the rotation. I'm talking about how the league will scout and figure things out extremely fast. So by the time we got to the second half of it, take that as a sign of respect, because he's a downhill guy. He really is. He's aggressive, he's crafty, he's clever when he gets into all of his spins and fake spins and putting his shoulder down. Now it's about making the paint decision reads when you get in there, because you can still get in there. He'll improve his shooting. Everybody always does, with us. But I don't want it to be his whole game based on whether he's making a three-point shot or not. That's not him at his best. Him at his best are these plays that are unscripted, getting downhill. But now he has to make more complex decisions when the help defenders are there. Oftentimes last year, 2 help defenders, guys are wide open, making those plays. Defensively, when he's at his best, he's just around the ball a lot. Whether that means a deflection, a steal, or just a hustle play, like coming up with momentum shifting plays, that's who defined him when he was in college. So really leaning into that. And other than that, he and I just talked about clearing his mind. He spent a good deal of time with us. He spent with Dan and Rob and working on his shooting and working on his player development, working on his body. And then he's going to spend some time in LA. He's got a phenomenal work ethic. Like, he works out 3 times a day. I want him to play some pickup, in LA, play some 5-on-5 with those things in mind, at UCLA, all that stuff, and then come back out, at some point in August, clear mind, ready to kick some ass.